My name's Kathy, and I am working on this site that for the past few weeks about this idea of transforming your garden using an AI image processing application. And I call it GardenViz, visualizing garden for busy homeowners. So you can see the front page is like a few galleries, and I have some filters that you can use later on to search for the stuff you want. And the idea is that you see how that works. And then this is a call to action button where you can go to the page and upload your photo and have it generate something like this and pay for a PDF printout that you can take away to do the shopping. So today I'm going to work on this gallery part, so a gallery image card. So this is the part I'm working on, and today I'm just gonna explain a little bit about this part. At the moment, I'm using Flexbox for this icon, so I am decomposing this part into a label component, card label component with SVG and the label. So let's look at the source code. We have, eventually this will be a parameter, the icon, but at the moment I'm just using the same icon to just for working on it. And I have a span here that is a flex box. So that's the part here. I have a flex box and I'm lining out the SVG and the label side by side, so it's in a row. So I use inline flux. This means that the arrangement is in a row, but it's gonna like not take up the whole space just by the space available space that you need. Item center means to align them vertically. Text small means to use smaller text and using a main navigation color, which I defined in global CSS as a design token. So let's go to global CSS, and the design token is column and net, which is this green part here. And yeah, so the SVG, so that's the markup that I'm trying to match. Yeah, so I'm going back to the component itself. Quickly, I am having a components folder with this card in here, and everything else is like individual components where break down so that the page itself doesn't get too big. So this is my page component. Yep, so at the moment I have gallery image card, so I repeat a couple times just so I could work on them easily before I factor it. So I go to, so let's look at again about this part. And yeah, so I use a color, and then the SVG here is this icon label, and I call it icon so I can read it properly. I can read it easily. And SVG accepts a width and a height or class and a color. So these are the parameters where it generates this, and they use the current colors. And then finally the label beside it is this one. So you got kind of like the gap 1.5 in between, and this is children, which is a label text. So this is how you create a card label. But I also put a kind of a debug kind of a border around this element just so I can see how they flow. So now it's very easy to see this inline flux. How that works is you have the elements take out its own space but in the row, but at the same time they make space for other elements on the same row, and with a gap, which is some gap that you can specify in that flex row. So if we go back to the card itself, we can see that from the enclosing div, which is this parent div, I have this flux which make everything row between, which is just all I do. So it's saying that I am kind of spaced and evenly with a gap in between. And I also put vertical and horizontal kind of spacing, and I put it center, which is vertical alignment in the center. And finally, I got this outline, which is a debug outline I defined earlier. You can set that to true or false finally when you're ready for production. So if I ready to release this, I can take the borders off. So this step will be enclosing this part, and this this parent dev will be enclosing these 3 elements and the favorites icon, which is right here. Yes, so that's why the justify between is a good idea, so that they kind of have a gap in between, so you take out the whole row. And in regard to why use SVG for the icon, I would like to say that SVG is good for when you have icons, when you just a one-off icon that might be kind of easier to include with the HTML, where you don't have to make another request to the server to download that icon if it's just a simple one. And if something that is kind of used over and over again and it is a complicated icon, maybe it will be good to have it download as a separate PNG or something, so that you don't use the inline generation like this all the time. If you repeat it several times everywhere in the page, the image will be cached. So it might be a good idea. But in this case, it's a very one-off kind of thing. It repeats 3 times because I am just debugging. But if that was only used for this particular element here, not repeat everywhere else in the page, then might be a good idea to use rather than a JPEG.